Good evening, Internet. Good evening. Eric Arnold here in the Sports Barn, Sunday evening, May 10th, 2020. We're going to get on our way here with our baseball preview series. I think we're pretty much thinking this is going to happen, that there is going to be some baseball. Probably will know more by, the end of this week. Today's Sunday evening. Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic is reporting that the owners are going to come to the players tomorrow, Monday, with a proposal, which, I expect to be ratified in some fashion. There may be some minor tweaks to it. It does appear as if the plan is going to be that the East, Central, and West are going to form 10-team leagues, if you will, or divisions. You're going to play wholly within those divisions. In other words, the Philadelphia Phillies are not going to play the Reds. They're not going to play the Dodgers. They're just going to stay within the East and play those teams. They'll play the Red Sox, the Yankees once in a while. But for the most part, they're just going to play teams in their division. It looked like Rosenthal, his sources were telling him they were only going to play about half a season, which I found interesting because initially, when this first all kicked off, that baseball was saying, we intend to play as many games as possible, double headers, maybe even 7-inning games, something. We'll play into December if we have to, whatever. We intend to play some ball. Well, I guess they've come off that because if they get started, the 4th of July, second week of July, and they intend to play half a season, that more or less puts them on their normal schedule. So, it probably is not a bad idea to build some space into their schedule, because you're definitely in a fluid, uncertain time where who knows what the hell might happen. So I don't have a problem with it. At this juncture, if they played a 10-game season, I'd be happy. All right. I watched a little of the Samsung, whatever the hell they were, the other night, and I just couldn't get into it. I found myself looking up the stats of the American players that were playing. The one kid, I guess, was a kid, I think he's like 30 years old. I think he played for the Mets last year. He had like an 8 ERA. And he didn't look particularly, he couldn't get American MLB players out, and he couldn't get South Korean players out either. So, I don't know. Who knows, I may find myself watching more KBO. At any rate, so let's get moving here. After I told you I was going to start with the NL West and start with the Colorado Rockies, it was because in my stupid mind, C was the first team in the NL West alphabetically. I guess it is if we call them the Phoenix Diamondbacks instead of the Arizona Diamondbacks, but I guess most people start with the Arizona Diamondbacks, so that was all stupid. Well, at any rate, I said we'll do Colorado first. We'll do them first, just because somebody out there might be saying, I tuned in to see Colorado, damn it, and I expect to see Colorado. So, for you, we'll do them first. Now, before we get into the ins and outs of the Colorado Rockies in 2020, I want to talk some real basics here on betting MLB baseball. I know some of you are not your hardcore gambler types, but if you watch enough of these videos, maybe you'd like to become one, and that would be fine with all the rest of us. There's no point spread per se. I guess there's two ways to bet MLB. Let's focus on the money line for now. Let's leave the run line maybe to another video or what have you, but let's just focus on the money line and talk about that way of betting. The money line, let's say you got a 4-game set here between the 2011 Phillies and some bad team. The money line is you're betting how much you have to give money to the bookie, and if you win by your team winning the game. There's no points, there's no runs. If your team is heavily favored and then they win by 1 run in the 19th inning, then you win your bet. You know, it doesn't matter if you win 10-0 or 1-0. As long as you win the game, you win the bet. Same if you're the underdog. Close doesn't count in the money line. In other words, in the NFL, you're getting 2 touchdowns because you got a shitty team going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Andy Reid takes it easy on you, and he only wins by 13 points, and you go, yeah, I cashed my bet. That doesn't happen with the money line. You got to win the game outright. Now, how do we figure out what happens here? So let's take this 4-game set, the Phillies, which was a real good team back then, versus a shitty team. And I didn't name the shitty team, it's just a shitty team. So Roy Halladay going against Alan Jabroni. So never heard of him, he's a bad pitcher. Minus 400. What that means is you have to give the bookie $400 to win $100. Plus 325 if you want to take the crummy team and just have a hunch that the crummy team's going to pull an upset. You give the bookie $100, and if they win, you get your $100 back plus $325. So you're getting paid much extra to take the bad team. Whereas I have to give, to win, I got to win outright, give the bookie $400, and if Halladay takes care of business, I get the $400 back plus $100. All right, so let's give you an example here. What metric we use as far as trying to determine who's good, who's not, whether a trend is valid or not. The one I use is return on investment. In other words, I could have a record of, I don't know, let's say 60 wins and 40 losses. Well, is that good? Well, I don't know. I mean, it just depends on how much I've been given the bookie. If I've been playing huge favorites, 60 wins and 40 losses absolutely sucks. That's terrible. Whereas, again, we go back and play point spread leagues like basketball and football, 60 wins and 40 losses is phenomenal. You know you're winning then. But in a money line type league like the baseball, it all depends on how big the favorites are, or are you playing underdogs. Whether I have the wins and losses almost doesn't matter. You have to keep track of the dollars that you bet and the money that you've won or lost as compared to that money that you've bet. Now that metric, like I said, I use to keep track of that, return on investment, ROI. Let me give you an example here. So we got our 4-game set, right? Phillies versus shitty team. Game sets in Philadelphia. So let's just, all right, Thursday we got Halladay versus Alan Jabroni. We'll put the Phillies down here, 10-1. So we win 100. I'm taking the Phillies. I'm going to take the Phillies through the whole series. Just going to play the Phillies straight down the line because I'm a big Phillies fan. So sue me. So we're going to take the Phillies the whole series. So we win $100 here, plus 100, 100. All right, Friday night, Cliff Lee versus Billy Jabroni. That's another win. $100. Saturday night, we got Cole Hamels versus Charlie Jabroni. Well, the Phillies ain't going to lose at home on Saturday night. I'll tell you that right now. So we'll call that 13-2. So that's another $100. And the scores are irrelevant. Doesn't matter if it's 13-2. It doesn't matter if it's 3-2. All you got to do is win the damn game. So we've won 3 games now. 100, 200, 300. Now Sunday, getaway day. Maybe we went out and partied a little bit the night before. Donnie Jabroni, he's pretty good. He's their best pitcher. Roy Oswalt, he's our worst pitcher. He's only a minus 250 favorite as compared to these other guys that were bigger favorites. And we're going to say that Donnie Jabroni gets it done as Roy Oswalt gives up a grand slam in the 9th inning to get us beat. So we had to give the bookie $250 to bet this game, and we lost. So minus, let's do it this one, minus $250. All right, so now what's our return on investment? Is this good? Is this bad? Should we be embarrassed? Should we be happy? The money we bet was 400, 400, 400, and 250. So for the weekend series, we bet 400, 400, 400, 250 for a grand total of $1,450. That's how much we gave the bookie over the weekend series. So, did we win? Did we lose? We won $100 here. We won $100 there, 200. We won another 100 there, that's 300. 300, and then we lost here, 250. So 1, 2, 3, that's 300 minus 250. Grand total of we made $50. We made $50 for the whole weekend series. We gave the bookie $1,450, and we made $50. So what's our return on investment? $50 divided by the amount that we bet. You know, the amount, the return, whenever we made, won or lost, $50 divided by what we invested or bet, $1,450, and that works out to about 3.45%. So you're saying, well, is that good? Seems like we bet a lot of money and made hardly anything. I tell you what, you're betting baseball and you've actually made money? That's great! You know, you usually lose. Baseball's tough. It's hard to win at baseball. So this is nothing to be embarrassed about. You know, think about this. I mean, right now, certificates of deposit are paying, I think, 2%. You got to give the bank $1,000. They hold it for a year, and then you get back your $1,000 plus $20. I mean, you made $50 and they did it in 4 days. So yeah, that's nothing to be embarrassed about. Generally speaking, if you just take one team or you take a major league as a whole, the average works out to about minus 2% because you're fighting the book. The book has the VIG. The book is not giving you fair odds. So you have to buck the VIG in order to be a winner. So I just want to throw some of those numbers at you just so some of this makes sense when I'm talking about all these various MLB teams as far as what they've done in the past, what their return on investment in the past has been. Is it good? Is it bad? That sort of thing, just so it makes somewhat of sense to you. All right, let's jump into the Colorado Rockies. Manager is Bud Black. Bud Black, I believe, managed the San Diego Padres for 8-9 years in the mid-aught decade to the mid-teens, mostly without distinction. I can't remember the Padres doing much of anything in those times. Don't know if they made the playoffs more than once. Don't know if they made it at all, frankly. I would say we're going to say Bud Black is a pretty mediocre manager, maybe C-, nothing special there. Last year, the Rockies, 71 wins, 91 losses. Return on investment for last year was minus 5.6%. So definitely a poor year for the Rockies. If you were Mr. Season Ticket holder and you just laid down $100 every night on the Rockies, you would have gotten hurt pretty bad. Now, It's not like the Rockies have been terrible altogether lately. In 17 and 18, they had two pretty big years here. 5.6%, 8.1% plus. So 17 and 18, they were a good team to make money on. Probably because you had young stars coming out of nowhere. Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado. So they really made you some money there in those years. Other than that, 16, 15, bad teams. Their 5-year average, about break even, which is better than the MLB average. So break even is really not break even. They were actually better than the average. One other thing I wanted to note on the Rockies, there is a heavy bias on this team as far as home and away. If you think, well, they seem like they would be a pretty good home team. You're actually right, they are. Sometimes the obvious thing is the obvious answer. They're a pretty good home team, and they absolutely suck on the road. They're one of the worst teams historically in the league away. And think about it. I mean, these guys play up in the mountains, and it's dry, it's arid, and then they come to the East Coast in the summertime. If you've never experienced East Coast humidity in the summer, and you're not used to it, you're from the desert, oh, it's different. It's different. It's just hard to concentrate. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. Ask Chase Utley about that. He's from Southern California. He played 10 years in Philadelphia, and I don't think he ever got used to it. So, not a good road team. 2019, fourth in the league in runs. That's probably to be expected. That's probably a little light, considering where these guys play. Last in the league in runs against. Fielding, I'm going to say 11th. That's my own little metric. I made that up. You have all kind of metrics as far as fielding. You got fielding percentage, you got zone ratings, and runs saved, and defensive efficiency, and I just basically kind of mashed it all together, and I called them 11th. So what do we think here? What are we doing with these guys? Are we buying them? Are we selling them? 71 and 91. The Vegas over-under, obviously this number was hung before the pandemic, was 74 and a half. That's obviously for a full season. I would be selling this team. I don't think we're going to be buying the Rockies. It looks like it's the same bunch they brought back last year. And it's an older team. Plus they have that huge outfield at home. And they just have older guys running around out there. Charlie Blackmon, he's in his early 30s. They're running Ian Desmond around out in the outfield. He's in his mid-30s. One of the things we're going to be looking for is defense. I think that's a hidden metric. I think teams that catch the ball are good value betting-wise because nobody looks at that stuff. They look at pitching. First thing they look at is pitching. Second thing they look at is can you score, and that's all they look at. The teams that can catch the ball, I believe there's hidden value there. So let's try to figure out who can catch the ball. And I don't know these guys are necessarily that team. I think that Arenado he's good. But then what else do you have? You have, like I said, you got an older outfield. And man, there's a lot of space out there in Denver. So just don't know that this is a team that's going to make this huge freaking rebound. They're expecting a lot of their veteran players to bounce back. Well, at a certain point, you are what you are. In other words, if Daniel Murphy, their first baseman, had a bad year last year, is that because he had a bad year? Or is that because he's 34, 35 years old? Sometimes there is no bounce back. That you are who you are. So I don't expect there's going to be a big bounce back here. We're not looking for that. We're probably selling the Rockies in some fashion. The second half of last year, this was one of the worst teams in the National League. So we're not sure there's anything to recommend this team. We'll call this one a sell. Sell. So that's the Rockies. We're going to do the Diamondbacks next. We'll do them next. Let's see. Arizona. What's the rest of that? Los Angeles, San Francisco. I'm forgetting somebody. LA. Oh yeah, San Diego. Let's see. San Diego, San Francisco. So that's what we'll do next. We'll do that next, and probably get through that this week. So, getting going on baseball. We'll have lots to talk about here for the next month or so as we preview the season. I don't think this will hurt us in preparation for the season. I mean, I've always kind of wanted to do this, but the seasons overlap, and there's just no time to do it because you're betting the games in the other leagues, and you just don't have time to do this sort of thing. Don't get me wrong, I never want to do this ever again. So we'll do it because we have to do it, and I think it could. Let's hope this kind of preparation pays off a little bit. I mean, usually hard work pays off. Usually, occasionally. I say that occasionally. So, very good. Eric Arnold signing off. From me to you. We'll see you again maybe tomorrow, and we'll talk Arizona Diamondbacks. Thanks for being here. Out.